Hello, people. I have finished a book, The Trial of Socrates. I started this book once and then put it down because, like many books about ancient Greece, Athens in particular, they never really seem to get to the point. They kind of bog down in the definition of words and in the definition of words for the previous 500 years, how the words changed, came to mean something different. They reference one Athenian play after another and tell you what the words meant in that play. The book is titled The Trial of Socrates, but I really have no idea after reading this how a trial would have been run in Athens. The only particular that I really gathered from this was there is a hell of a lot of jurors. There's like 500 jurors. And as you can probably imagine, the verdict does not have to be unanimous. They put Socrates on trial for like sedation of the youth, turning the youth against democracy. And Socrates was not a fan of democracy. And after reading the book, it seems like Plato, Aristotle, none of them were fans of democracy. So they put him on trial. For some reason, Socrates really does not put up much of a defense. Several people claim that he actually wanted to die. When it comes time for him to plead for, when it comes time for him to speak his mind, his defense at the end, he actually says things calculated to aggravate the jurors, and so they condemn him to death. And this was in 399 BCE. I got a few notes here. Like I said, I started this book once, stopped, and since I'm out of, I really have nothing to read here. I'm going to be picking through the pile again and finding something else. I picked it up, and it wasn't all that bad. It wasn't excruciating. My first note says 60 pages in, and it sounds like Socrates had so irritated people that something had to be done. And when I made that note, there's other things towards the end that made it even worse for Socrates. But one of the things that Socrates came up with, and anybody that was involved in the great debate on YouTube, the golden age was like 7 years ago. And, I was a bit part player in the great debate, sitting in the peanut gallery. For a little while, the religious people were using this really stupid argument that you can't ever know anything. All you can really know for sure is that you don't know anything. And it was a very irritating argument because obviously you know a great many things. And it appears that Socrates is the one that started this shit a long, long time ago. My next note says, silly me to think I would be spared philosophy in a book about Socrates. And I don't care for philosophy. Socrates and the Oracle of Delphi. Apparently he went there and the Oracle told him he was the wisest man in the world or some shit like that. Page 89. Let's see. And that's not a paragraph, so I have to find just the sentence that I wanted to read. Page 89. So it was in the decision to massacre the people of Melos for revolting against Athens during the Peloponnesian War, the gravest war crime Athens ever committed, but one which, in all their discussion of virtue, neither Socrates nor Plato ever mentions. So Socrates and Plato were what I like to call jingoists, because apparently since they never mention it, since it was committed by Athens, it was okay, and that kind of crap still goes on to this day. The three earthquakes. The three earthquakes are the three times that Athens was taken over by like a dictatorship. One there was 30 dictators, one there was 400 dictators. One of them was at the end of the Peloponnesian War when Athens was actually garrisoned by Spartan troops. And I wrote that down because Socrates never even mentions it. He doesn't say that this is a bad thing. So, the people of Athens stored this up in their head, and it just gave them one more reason to get rid of Socrates. Third and fourth paragraph, page 226. If you're really interested in philosophy, and you probably already know about this if you're very interested in philosophy, but this wasn't a bad book if you have that kind of. Socrates should have argued that the laws, by denying him freedom of speech, were turning a citizen into a slave. This is how the argument should have been made in the Crito and in the trial itself. To understand why the argument did not take that course and why Socrates did not use his best defense, one must take a fresh look at the attitude of Greek philosophers towards freedom of speech. And this is how the book goes. It keeps going back, and it will give you all these definitions and all these examples of how other philosophers that I've never heard of, because really there was freedom of speech there in Athens, and all Socrates was doing was speaking. The guy never held down a job. He was a teacher, yes, but apparently he bragged that he never took any pay from that. His family lived off of an inheritance from his father. So what they convicted him of, in here in the United States, that would be simply freedom of speech. And very little on how a trial actually worked. Yeah, it just didn't have anything. They didn't have any kind of a scene from his death. There's this famous painting of him holding the hemlock, and give me some real details. Let me know how hemlock works on the system. I didn't get any of that. Last paragraph, page 230. His martyrdom and the genius of Plato made him a secular saint, the superior man confronting the ignorant mob with serenity and humor. This was Socrates' triumph and Plato's masterpiece. Socrates needed the hemlock as Jesus needed the crucifixion to fulfill a mission. The mission left a stain forever on democracy. That remains Athens' tragic crime. Athens, at one point in the Peloponnesian War, they have a naval victory, and the admirals that are on these triremes never go back to pick up the dead Athenian sailors. And there's a big trial right in the middle of the war, and they put all these guys to death. And I think that was a much bigger crime, because I don't see where Socrates held all that much value for Athens. I suppose I'll get argument there, but it wasn't that bad of a book. It filled my time. I did finish another 2 volumes of that Akira thing, and it looks like that fucking Akira thing just goes on and on and on. So there's gonna be a 4th volume, and I'll probably keep reading that. It's a pretty cool comic book. Rainy day. I didn't go to work today. Thanks for watching.